Okay, before we get tonight's meeting started, we would like to have a moment of silence for the school victims that were killed in Texas this afternoon. There was 14 students and one teacher that were shot today earlier in Texas.
Thank you. With that, I would like to call this regular board meeting of Tuesday, May 24th, 2022 to order. Treasurer, please call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Present.
Mrs. Gerken?
Here.
Mr. Parker? Here. Mrs. Barwig?
Here.
And Mr. Vasquez? Here.
Thank you. Today, we are going to have the national anthem sung by one of our 11th graders from Scott High School, Ms. Dominique Garza.
Oh, say, can you see the dawn's light? What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose the stripes and bright stars through the perilous start, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the morning shattered, the bells bursting in air, gave proof to the night that a flag was still there. Oh, take us that star-spangled banner yet wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. Dr. Durant and Mrs. Mazur, if we could send a note to Ms. Garza to tell her we enjoyed her voice today. That was lovely of her. Dr. Durant, if you would start us off with the mission and vision.
As TPS mission is to produce competitive college and career-ready graduates through a rigorous curriculum across all grade levels by implementing high learning standards with fidelity. Our vision statement is to strive to be an A-rated school district whose graduates are college and career ready. Thank you.
Thank you. And then that brings us to section 2, the presentations, Dr. Durant.
Going to turn over to Ms. Mazur, please.
Thank you, Dr. Durant, and good evening, everyone. We have 2 exciting presentations tonight. The first one is from our friends over on the east side, and that's God's country, I hear, from Birmingham Elementary and their LEADS program. The submission comes to us from Mrs. Corey Booz, the principal of Birmingham. And she explains that after learning about the intent and positive outcomes of SMARTS, Birmingham Elementary decided to launch a similar student-led initiative. Led by Mrs. Dalton, LEADS, or Lead, Encourage, Achieve, Dream, Succeed, was introduced to allow 7th and 8th graders to have a voice at the school. A few of the group's accomplishments include passing out incentives to students, joined forces with Waite's Smart Group for Welcome to Birmingham Day. They planned Pie in the Face Day and set the criteria for participation, planned a third quarter dance, and have ongoing discussions about improving the school culture and climate. They did submit a video that highlights some of the work that LEAD students helped out with this year. I will say the audio is a little hard to hear. but some of the facial expressions of these students, it's just priceless. So if we could go ahead and watch.
Hi, my name is
As an eighth grader, you won't return to Birmingham, but would you be interested in serving in a similar role at the high school level? Give me a specific task that Leeds assisted with at Birmingham. Do you think that Leeds made a difference in Birmingham? Give me a specific task that Leeds assisted with at Birmingham. Give me a specific task that Leeds assisted with at Birmingham. Tell me more. Yes. Tell us about your experience this year being in Leeds. What is your favorite memory? Why?
It was really good to that the hard work
Give us a specific task that Leeds assisted with this year at Birmingham. Do you think Leeds has made a difference in Birmingham? Tell us about your experience this year being in Leeds.
So we have handed out incentives and meetings and weekly on Wednesdays.
What is your favorite memory of being part of Leeds this school year? How were you selected to be part of the Birmingham Leeds group? Do you think that Leeds has made a difference at Birmingham?
It helps me. I think that it helps.
What is your favorite Leeds memory? Tell us about your experience this year being in Leeds? Do you think that Leeds has made a difference at Birmingham?
Yes, it helps people find it and are actually motivated for it.
Again, the audio was not the greatest, but I promise you it was all very positive feedback, and the students spoke very highly of their involvement with Leeds, and I will work with them next year on how to video and how to get their audio to be a little bit better. But I think it's great that they took the initiative, and they're preparing their students for what comes next. So there are future SMARTS members. Next up, we have Young Scholars Program update for the year. Mr. Sam Robinson, the program coordinator, is here tonight to recognize the members of the class of 2022 who successfully completed the pre-collegiate portion of the Young Scholars Program.
Good afternoon, President Gerken, Vice President Barnes, members of the board, and the Superintendent, Dr. Durant. I bring to you greetings on behalf of Dr. James L. Moore III, Vice Provost for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion and Chief Diversity Officer at The Ohio State University. My name is Sam Robinson, and I'm honored to serve as the Program Coordinator for the Toledo Young Scholars Program. I'm joined today by my colleague, Brandon Britt, our Program Manager, to present the graduating class of 2022. This year, we celebrate 80 Young Scholars students across the state of Ohio who will graduate from high school and prepare their transition to higher education in the fall. Thank you for your continuous support and partnership with the Young Scholars Program for allowing us to publicly congratulate these students with you today. These 7 young scholars participated in our pre-collegiate program and will graduate from Toledo Public Schools. 5 of our young scholars will attend The Ohio State University the fall of 2022. This year, Ohio State awarded more than $5.2 million in scholarship monies to young scholars over the next 4 years. Toledo young scholars will be awarded $404,736 for 4 years of undergraduate education. The annual average young scholar scholarship is $16,250 and meets 100% of students' demonstrated financial need. I will be presenting to you our Toledo 2022 graduating class. Juliana Barcenas from Wake High School. Her intended major is nursing. Taylor Coper from Start High School. She couldn't be here with us today, but her intended major will be optometry. Soha Gawali from Toledo Early College. Intended major, pharmacy. Soha was also our Toledo Scholar of the Year. Tanner Gray from Start High School. Intended major, architecture. I'm sorry, I gotta look at my man real quick. This is the cleanest I don't ever seen. All right, Tanner. That's what I'm talking about. Emily Potter from Toledo Early College. She will enter the exploration program at Ohio State University. Paige Staler, Rogers High School. Paige intended major is biochemistry. Forshay Watkins, Rogers High School. Intended major, anthropology. So please help me congratulate our 2022 Young Scholars Program Toledo senior class.
Oh, now that's a team player right there. Yeah, I wouldn't ask you to do that. Just kind of lean in a little bit more. There we go. That's good. There we go. Everybody, TPS proud. Go up. There we go. Awesome.
Just one other presentation. We would like to recognize that we received good news late last week that Dr. Durant was named as a finalist for the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation Ohio Outstanding Superintendent Performance Award. More than 30 superintendents who serve urban, rural, local, or suburban communities across Ohio were nominated by their boards of education to honor and acknowledge how their leaders prioritize deep learning and excellent teaching. A committee of Ohio public school educators and administrators reviewed each application, and only 17 were named as a finalist. We appreciate Martha Holden Jennings for recognizing the innovative work that happens across our district under Dr. Durant's leadership each and every day. And then we have a few retirees to congratulate. Rochelle Gilbert, a Treasury Specialist. She will be retiring with 25 years and 2 months of service. Rodney Saunders, a physical education teacher. He is retiring with 26 years of service. Minnie Wyop, working facility site coordinator 2, 30 years and 3 months of service. And Michael Agustin, working facility site coordinator, 39 years and 11 months of service. And that is a total of 120 years and 9 months of service to Toledo Public Schools. And Mrs. Gerken, I'd like you to know that our SMART student is here.
Fantastic. I don't believe we have any community comments in section 3, but we are going to be at section 4, organizational input, which will start with our student representative, Ms. Bach.
Hi, my name is Sonia Bach. I'm a student representative at I Go to Woodward, and I am one of the leaders of our SMARTS team. And while being at Woodward and being able to be a part of this group, I've learned so much, and they have taught me so much. We've actually had a lot of changes since I've been there, and I've got a chance to talk to a lot of the different leaders, and I've noticed change throughout our school years, which involves we had water fountains at our school for the for refilling your bottles. Since we didn't have it, we are in progress of having water provided at lunch for certain students who may not like what is given to us. We've done a lot of different activities to help our students' mental health. We've had our activities days, Safe Schools Week. We raised money to donate to Ukraine, and we've also did Giving Back Week. Every Thanksgiving, we usually have a dinner for our students. And I've been a part of so many change for the 3 years that I've been at Woodward. And I know that because of SMARTS and all of our representatives and our leaders, there's so much more change to come. And I encourage you all to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We do not have one from Parent Congress today, but I do believe that Mr. Emilio Ramirez from TAP is in the house.
Thank you. I want to say congratulations to the young scholars. Obviously, I'm an alma mater of Ohio State, and I wish you best of luck. I graduated from Wade High School too, so I'll be looking to see how you do. Thank you. I do want to give a shout out to my wife over there, Dr. Sarah Ramirez, who just finished her doctorate 2 weeks ago. Thank you. But she's also with SMARTS, and I do want to give a shout out for Jennifer Lawless. That is a great program. Yes. Mr. Gant and I had the opportunity to speak to the students there at, what is that? Urban Air. Yeah, trampoline place, what I call it. But it was talking about evocation. Ms. Sheila Barnes was there too, and the conversation was about how young students, SMARTS, and obviously young scholars, how they're going to grow up and be leaders and advocates for themselves, for their community, and for Toledo. So I'm proud of what we have accomplished here with the organization and with Toledo Public Schools. That's all I had. Have a good year. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further organizational input, we have section 5 comments by the board. Mr. Vasquez.
The only thing I want to welcome you and thank you for your remarks because I do believe there has been change and there's going to be more change because of SMARTS and because of students like you. I also want to congratulate Mr. Ramirez. He doesn't miss a meeting. He's always here. I want you to know I appreciate it very much. You take the time and give us your input and listening to what we have to say. He is also at many of our committee meetings, which takes a lot of time, and I appreciate that too. The other thing I want to do is congratulate our students. I'm also an Wade alumnus and proud of all of our students. And I really enjoy standing behind smart students. So I'm looking forward to the picture, and hopefully it's going to be posted someplace. And congratulations to you, and good luck to you. A couple of other comments is that I wanted to make is that I also stopped by the Urban Air Smart Student, but later I stopped by when I could. I just have to tell you how fantastic. Dr. Durant, it's just a great group. I saw everything that they had posted as far as their conversations were concerned. I listened to some of them talk. They are very, very, and I've said this before, but they are very, very practical. They have some real issues. They're trying to navigate the system, and we all know that we have a system and we have a process that's not the easiest to navigate, and we're kind of responsible for that, setting up that process. So I do applaud them for that. Dr. Durant, you should just be really proud of your staff. When I was there were so many staff members who had different roles, and some of them were to organize things, to encourage the students. Some of them were taking the lead. I don't want to point anybody out in particular because they were all working very, very hard. I was just very proud to be there. The other thing I want to comment is on our FACE committee. Our FACE committee last time took 2.5 hours before we finished. And we stayed there till the end. Ms. Barnes, we wore them down. I think we're going to try to cut it and make it a little shorter. But there's so much to talk about. And I want to tell my fellow board members and colleagues, and they know this already, but we're doing so much. And then we meet here, and the Faith Committee doesn't really have any action items most of the time. But our staff are working so hard to provide services that support our students and also support our families. And Ms. Barnes and I tried to help provide some leadership. We tried to help provide support. A large part of that discussion is about our hubs and what they're doing and how they're organized. Ms. Barnes and I are always trying to see how everything fits in. We talked about our early childhood education, how that fits into our organization, and of course, SMARTS and all the good work that they're doing. So I just want to let you know that we've been very active. It was a very good meeting. We are going to try to keep them a little shorter next time. I'm also chairman of finance, and Mr. Schulte would never let us go on that long. So I do appreciate that meeting and everybody who's there. That's all I have.
Madam President, yes, yeah, thank you. I too would like to congratulate Birmingham Leads. I really wish that we would have had an opportunity to hear what the students had to say. I love their facials for sure, but hopefully we'll get a chance to get some feedback from the students where we can actually hear them. And then, of course, the young scholars, which I think many of them have left, congratulations to them. Dr. Durant, as a candidate, my goodness, accolades for sure. And it's no surprise to any of us, right? And then the SMARTS student, thank you so much for being here. I will tell you, that has been a labor of love for this Board of Ed to pursue the SMARTS program. We knew, or we had an inkling that it was going to be all that we hoped it would be, and it is achieved so much more. So it's great to have your voice for this district, which is so important, so important. And I know that you're going to bring the change that we need in this district and bring a fresh perspective. And thank you for being here tonight. We certainly appreciate it. Congratulations to all of our graduates. I know we still have some coming through next week and this week. And I always look forward to graduation ceremonies. You see all of the big smiles. Everybody's accomplished so much throughout the year. So I look forward to that. And then also looking forward to the summer school. I know there's a lot of folks that are looking forward to summer school. My granddaughter is not one of them this year. She actually just graduated from kindergarten today. And can I just say that Escuela put on such a fantastic program. They are super excited to get to first grade. And as she told me the other day, that I'm just as smart as she is because I could count to 100. So, and then to our staff, I know that our staff have worked the last 2 years so hard, and it has been a struggle and a challenge. So I know that many of them are looking forward to having maybe a bit of a reprieve this summer to kind of rejuvenate and look forward to the coming year. Again, discussions around block scheduling, middle school concepts, and referee classes in the future. So I look forward to those discussions continuing. That's it. Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Again, ditto to everything that Mrs. Barwick said. Congratulations to our young scholars and to Birmingham Lead Program. Dr. Durant, congratulations to you just for being nominated and a finalist. Your work speaks of you everywhere you go. And so you're consistently any award that is above, or any award that I believe, how can I say it, that reaches excellence, I think you always have your name in that as well. And so to all of our graduating seniors, congratulations to you. And we're excited about graduation season that is upon us. I think it was Charles Dickens that said it was the worst of times and the best of times. And even in the midst of a lot of things that's going on in our community and our world, there are still those who are striving to do what's right and achieve, and we ought to celebrate them as well. The only thing that I have for today is on May the 7th of this month, there was the 20th anniversary for Claire's Day. And Claire's Day celebrates the achievement of literacy. And so we were excited on the 7th to celebrate that. Claire was a young lady, Claire Rubini, who passed away at the age of 12, but she was an avid reader. And so her parents, Brad and Julie Rubini, came together with Claire's Day to celebrate literacy achievements of students. And I'm proud to say that TPS had over 700 students that was represented in receiving those awards. So that was absolutely phenomenal. And just excited about where TPS is headed. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. So my message is going to be for the youth that is in the room or watching. I wanted to try to find a word or a phrase that embodied everything, because it was youth-led and, you know, youth is showing up, showing out. And I want to say youth empowerment, but it's like, that means you have to ask us for power, and y'all already have the power. Y'all running the show. Y'all are our leaders. We are old school now. We old heads, as I call them. Sorry, but they older than me though. But y'all are our leaders. Y'all keep making noise. Be unapologetic about it, that you want change. You want us to represent your future. I am so glad to see you in the room on this day, Tuesday night. I am so glad to see that your involvement in SMART. Every group had like real stuff they wanted to see change about. And most of them was about mental health, about food insecurity, about getting supplies. These are our leaders. These are our youth leaders telling us, hey, we know what's going on. We have solutions. And if we don't hear you, y'all take over and y'all come take these seats. That's what this is about. Dr. Durant leads the future to make future teachers, doctors, and everything. This board is to hopefully inspire you to be a future board member, city council person, mayor, next president. That's our job. But your job is to take over. And I see that when I see Smarts. Ms. Lawless, I don't know if you're still in the room, but I see you over there. Thank you so much. Because every time I get around, I kind of get in trouble. I'm like, yeah, we're going to just change everything. But Dr. Durant, thank you. Because of the way you lead and being innovative about the opportunity that you give our kids. People say they can't have these opportunities because of their race, their gender identity, sexual orientation, or economical status. You make sure we have those opportunities for our babies. And that's why I'm so proud as a TPS parent, because I know your heart is in our kids. So I appreciate you. And I don't know how you do it every day, but I do appreciate you. And to the staff, I was at Westfield's graduation. Don't ask me what day. I don't know what today is. But to hear the stories of these graduates, youth mothers, youth fathers. I was a teenage mom, and to see their excitement to say, I did it still, in spite of. I did this, but in spite of. That's what motivates me to be a better person every day, and to make sure I give you the mic, the youth in the room and I give you the mic, because we need to make sure that everybody can have that feeling regardless of our differences. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to start with my congratulations of the SMARTS groups as well, and thank you for being involved. I think you've figured out by now that this board is very serious about student voice, and that's what the SMARTS group is about, giving voice to students, not just in their everyday classroom, do the work, go home, go to your sports, do all the things that everyone expects young people to do, but we take it very seriously that we want to hear from students about everything from whether they like their lunches to the policies, the safety, the schedule. So we take it very seriously, and you might have some fun doing it during the school year, and I hope you do, and I hope you reach out to your colleagues in the building and inspire them to be involved. But it is serious, and we do take it seriously. We are fully behind the work of the Smarts Group. So not only to Ms. Lawless, who has run with it since the moment we said, hey, we want to do student voice in TPS, to Dr. Ramirez and all of your colleagues and counterparts in each of our high schools, whoever is leading the student voice from the adult side of things, just understand that the board is serious about it, and we expect big things from you, and we definitely are interested in hearing from you. I loved hearing from our scholars who are college bound and who got that extra head start of mentoring and knowing that their way was paved for them as they start college. So I have no doubt that they're going to do fantastic. Graduation season is here. I had my first graduation last week, as I was able to congratulate every Toledo early college student. Tomorrow, I am seeing the inaugural class of the Virtual Academy, have a live graduation, not a virtual graduation. So I'm excited about that tomorrow over at Rogers. I want to say something about our curriculum committee as well. We have some graduates on the agenda today, but we have had, I think, at least 6 major textbook adoptions in TPS in the last several months. A lot of work, a lot of textbook study committees, a lot of excitement from those people on those committees when they brought it to us in the curriculum committee to show us what they're so excited about bringing into our classrooms from so many different subject areas. So that is such a big adoption that as board president today, I had to sign a contract to store them all because we don't even have room to take delivery of all of the curriculum materials that are going to be delivered in June. So I thought that was kind of an interesting contract to sign, that between June and August, we are taking delivery of so many brand new materials that we had to rent space to properly take delivery and redistribute them to the schools between June and August so that they'll be ready for all of the classrooms. So little tidbit of, textbook adoption is one thing, but the logistics of actually getting all those materials in the hands of our instructional leaders is a whole nother thing. So the work of the curriculum committee alongside the operations folks in the district work together to make sure all that new stuff is in the hands of teachers. I'm very excited about that. And I think if that concludes our board comments, we did have scheduled to go into executive session, but we're going to bump that to the end of our meeting. So we'll come back to that, which means we are at our consent agenda, which is section 7 of our agenda. Items 7.01 through 7.33 are the consent agenda items. Board members may request to pull an item from the consent and move it to the discussion section as needed. So the Human Resources and Staff Development and Training Committee brings us items 701 through 705. That is chaired by me, Polly Taylor Gherkin, and co-chaired by Randall Parker. Items 706 to 713 come to us from the Finance and Business Operations Committee, chaired by Mr. Bob Vasquez and co-chaired by Mrs. Chris Barwig. Item 7.14 is the Technology Improvements and Process Committee. There are no action items from that committee this month. That is chaired by me and co-chaired by Mr. Bob Vasquez. Item 7.15 and 7.16 are the Board Curriculum, Instruction, and Academic Excellence agenda items, chaired by me and co-chaired by Mrs. Barwig. Items 7.17 and 7.26 come to us from the Policy Committee. There are several there for board approval. That is chaired by Ms. Sheena Barnes and co-chaired by Mr. Bob Vasquez. Items 7.27 through 7.29 are from the Arts, Athletics, and Student Activities Committee, That is chaired by Mrs. Chris Barwig and co-chaired by Mr. Randall Parker. Item 7.30 and 7.31 come from the Family and Community Engagement Committee. That is chaired by Mr. Bob Vasquez and co-chaired by Ms. Sheena Barnes. And then 7.32 and 7.33 are approval of board meeting minutes from our previous board meeting. I would like to request a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Treasurer, please call the roll.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig,
Yes.
and Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Okay, section 8 of the agenda consists of reports and minutes from this month's committee meetings and are here for information and reference. No action is required, so we can proceed to section 8. So that is section 8. We're going to proceed to section 9 of the discussion session. We have the point 9.01 is the 5-year forecast. I believe, Mr. Treasurer, you have something for us there.
Yes, they're going to play it as a video. Tonight, we are going to go over the 5-year forecast. The 5-year forecast is required by the West Code Annual Administrative Code. And we are to file an original forecast by November 30th and then update it between April 1st and May 30th, or whenever a significant change would occur to the forecast. Purpose of the forecast is to allow the Board of Education and the community to discuss long-range financial issues and about the district plan for the future. It's also to provide a method for the Department of Education and other state to identify school districts that may be having financial problems. So this evening, we will look at fiscal year 22, the summary. We'll look at what revenues are received and how we spend them. We'll look at key assumptions. We'll look at a forecast summary, and we'll go over the renewal levies that we have coming down. So for fiscal year 22 review and revenues, we're estimating to be about $4 million higher than what we had forecasted in November. The major difference at this point is the OE lawsuit that was paid on a lump sum versus over multiple years. All of the categories are tracking to where we anticipated. On the expenditure side, currently we are anticipating to be about $1 million less than what we forecasted at that time. Most all of our categories will be very close to what we were forecasting back in November. What that means is that originally in November we anticipated a $136 million carryover. Now we're looking at roughly $130 million carryover. So for fiscal year 22, we're tracking typically where we would be at this point. Now we'll look at where we receive our revenue and how we expense our revenue. And this chart here, the bottom bar graph is from fiscal year 21, and the second top bar graph is from fiscal year 22. Fiscal year 22 is the first year that we were on the Fair School Funding Plan. And what I would like to note here is that under the Fair School Funding Plan, we no longer receive revenue for charter schools, open enrollment, and choice vouchers. We only receive funding for the kids we educate. That's a change from previous years where we received funding for where kids live. What that has done is it's decreased our state aid. You can see that the gray and the yellowish box in both charts. So in 21, it was 68% of our funding was from state aid. Now it is 61%. Taxes, which is the blue box, from 22% in fiscal year 21 to 28% in fiscal year 22. Well, we know this tax revenue did not go up.
we still estimate the same amount of tax revenue. It's just the portion of the pie has gotten larger because state aid decreased because of no longer receiving the funding for the charter schools, the open enrollment and choice voucher students. On the expenditure side, it's the same. The gray boxes are purchase services, so that's where the flow-through money for charter schools, open enrollment, and choice vouchers came in, and we had to forward that on to the schools. So we no longer have to do that. So the salary and benefits become a larger piece of the pie versus where they were before. But we no longer, we didn't increase our salary and benefits to change those percentages. It was just because the total expenses went down. The items that will be left in our purchase services are utilities, purchase service contracts such as attorney, special ed costs, and so forth. The next item is going to look at some key assumptions. On the revenue side, we're looking at state aid, specifically enrollment, and the phase-in of the new funding formula and the PIA. And then expenditure side, major assumption is salary benefits. As stated earlier, we now receive funding on where kids are educated versus where they live. So looking at this chart, we go back to 2016 and go to 2026, you'll see that our enrollment is very much remaining flat. So we're not expecting any large increases or decreases at this time with our funding. And the different colors are different grade bands, and we're not seeing any bubbles running through the system at this time. The other item that we watch and monitor for enrollment is the number of births, and then out of that, what percentage end up enrolling in kindergarten in the district. Currently, it averages between 53 to 55%. The data on the slide is from the health department, and we reconciled that to a enrollment projections that we had done in April of 2019 by corporate strategies, and the two sets of data points are very similar, so we're comfortable with these numbers. Now we're going to look at the how the state is phasing in state aid. So when the fair school funding plan was developed and being proposed to the state legislature, they were phasing it in over 6 years, which is the bar chart on the right. Bar chart on the left is what has happened. So when they passed the new budget with the fair school funding plan, they only guaranteed funding on that formula for 2 years. And they phased it in 16.5% for the current year, and then another 16.5% or 33% in fiscal year 23. Forecast with the uncertainty that's going on in the legislature right now, we are fruiting the phase-in of the new funding formula at 33%. And what that means is, you'll see in this chart that the bar on the left, the blue in the pinkish color, the blue is base cost, so this is the new funding formula. And they calculate the base cost on our data. And then the other, the pinkish is the other costs that are calculated in the formula, which is your special education costs, transportation, court place students, and so forth. So those are additional, that's additional funding we get for those areas. And then the bar on the right is what it costs for us to educate a student. And then the green line is what we're being funded by the state at this time. So what I want to point out here is that the funding formula was fully funded, we'd be getting $12,400 per student, and currently we're getting $9,000. So that's roughly, what, $3,400 difference, which would be roughly 64 million to 7 million more in funding that we could receive if the funding formula was fully phased in. You can see by looking at study that this number really does not change anywhere in the chart, except for our expenses are going up, but keeping our state aid relatively flat. So with that information, we're looking at having a positive balance of $5.4 million at the end of 2026. We do not have any levy on this forecast. We know that right now it is looking at fiscal year 26 is when we really be going on the ballot. We did not put something on here due to the fact of the uncertainty of state aid. We will know basically within a year when the new budget comes in. As that we will know if they're still going to phase it in, or if the state is coming up with a new plan, as mentioned by the Senate already, or if the backpack bill will go into place, that will change this on dramatically. We do have both levy renewals of this forecast. Those are these colored areas at the top here. Right now, the plan is to run back levy renewals in November of 23. We have put together, or we have started to put together a levy committee in the sense that our previous levy consultant has no longer performs those services. So we reached out to Mr. Rudy, that's if he would help us with that. And once we get that confirmed up with him, we will then put the full levy committee together, go from there. So the levy renewals that we have coming up, 6.5 million levy, which generates $14 million. Then we have a 5.8 million current expense and permanent improvement levy, so there's 4.3 million that generates $9.7 million. And for general operations, and then we have 1.5 mils, which generates $3.41 million for permanent improvements. We have a 10-year levy that's not due for renewal until fiscal year 28. That's an emergency levy that generates 15.7. So that is still considered in our real estate taxes line item. And then one that we're monitoring to figure out how to handle this one is the $500,000 maintenance levy that was approved with the FSFC project that actually expires in calendar year 24. And so we'll need to see how we want to replace that one. So the other items that we are looking at in this forecast, that we have two major refunds for our real estate taxes, two entities filed for tax exemption were granted it through the state. And so that process takes a significant amount of time. So they've been paying their taxes now, we each refund their taxes back. So we have that considered in here. For salary and benefits, we've used negotiated agreements that we have in place, and then for the out years, we looked at the historic trends on where that would be. So at this time, as we end with the presentation, and take any questions that you may have.
We need a motion to approve item 9.01, and if there are questions, we can do that in discussion.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. I would just like to request that the presentation be put onto board docs and the actual PDF of the forecast itself, the supporting documents, so that it's available there as well. Any other discussion? Yes.
Yeah, Madam President, I just want to point out that there's a number, during our committee meeting, we discussed that there's a number of assumptions that are made. And if those assumptions are not absolutely correct, then there you'll find some, what I think are dramatic changes in the forecast. I think that school funding in the state of Ohio is always something that is not, it's fluid. It's not something that's always consistent. The foundation for school funding in Ohio needs to be changed. We've been saying that for years and years and years. But also remember that we're probably one of the few organizations that has to forecast something out 5 years. And that makes it very difficult for Mr. Steckschulte and his staff. So I would expect changes. Also, I would encourage the board members to read the minutes. I read through them a couple of times. The questions that Mrs. Varwig and myself had, and the answers to those questions, I think, are telling about possible actions. I think the levy discussion is a big one. So look at those minutes. I think it's complicated as we go forward. I think that our staff have as good a handle on things as they can, taking into consideration we don't know what the state is going to do in Columbus from day to day, not just from year to year. So I just encourage you to look at those questions. As always, I never feel real, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say confident. I don't feel confident in the information that we have that Mr. Steckschulte and the staff have to work with. And I don't feel, because of what goes on down at the state level, I just don't have a sense of assurances about finances for schools. So I want my colleagues to really look at it and help with any questions that you might have, because I'm sure we didn't think of all of them. So please look at that. Please question it. Thank you.
I just want to add, our public school funding continues to be constitutional. As a matter of fact, when the DeRoff case was going on, my daughter was just entering kindergarten, and now she has grown with 3 children of her own. And we still have unconstitutional public school funding. I would echo what Mr. Vasquez said about reading the minutes if you have questions. I don't know any organization. I've talked to several folks in the business community. I mean, they can project only so much, but I've never heard of businesses having, or any kind of company having to do a 5-year projection. Can you imagine doing a household projection? I can't imagine it. We all know that there's variables that come into play, and we certainly do not know what the State House is going to do on the various bills. There's 125 bills on the docket right now for education alone. So, I mean, the backpack bill alone could cost over $1 billion. Where's that money going to come from? Right? We know what their trend is to take it out of public ed. So that would have a major impact on districts across the state of Ohio. That's all.
Seeing no more discussion, please call the roll.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you. That brings us to item 9.02. And this is a resolution in opposition to House Bill 290. So once again, our board is spending time taking up issues that reflect the assault on public education coming from our state legislature. I'm going to read this bill, and it speaks to funding as well, as Mrs. Barwick just alluded to, and then we will ask for a motion. This is a resolution in opposition to House Bill 290, commonly known as the Backpack Bill. Whereas HB 290 has been introduced in the Ohio House of Representatives and has been subsequently referred to the House Finance Committee, and whereas HB 290, now known as the Backpack Bill, purports to establish a school funding formula that allows families to choose the option for all computed funding amounts associated with school students' education to follow them to the public and non-public schools they attend, and whereas the bill would divert public tax dollars away from public schools, and whereas for every child attending a non-public school, the public school district loses funding and does not achieve a savings as it still has the same number of staff, buildings, and infrastructure costs. And whereas non-public schools in Ohio are not subject to certain laws, including matters governing education standards and teacher qualifications, and may not be held to the same standards for protecting against religious and disability discrimination. And whereas state standardized testing and evaluations of prior educational voucher systems have determined that students who use such vouchers in non-public, private, and religious schools do not achieve improved learning outcomes compared to similarly situated students attending public schools. And whereas Article 6, Section 2 of the Ohio Constitution provides in part that the General Assembly shall make such provisions by taxation or otherwise as with the income arising from the school trust fund will secure a thorough and efficient system of common schools throughout the state. Whereas the Ohio Supreme Court has held that the Ohio Constitution calls for the upbuilding of a system of schools throughout the state. And whereas the board finds that directly funding students does not constitute the funding of a system of schools as required by the Ohio State Constitution. And whereas the board believes that every child has a fundamental right to a high-quality public education and that this should be the focus of the legislature. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Toledo School District that the board formally opposes and rejects House Bill 290 or any other legislation which purports to institute a universal voucher system in the state of Ohio. And the treasurer is authorized to deliver or cause to be delivered a certified copy of this resolution to community leaders, to members of the Ohio House of Representatives and the Ohio Senate, and to the office of Governor Mike DeWine. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from and immediately after its adoption, and shall supersede any prior resolutions or act of this board, which may be inconsistent with the provisions of this resolution. It is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this board concerning and relating to the passage of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of this board and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Madam President. So one of the things that is talked about is why they call it the backpack bill, because of the idea that when our youth are experiencing homelessness, they live out of a backpack. So it's supposed to help them. But what they don't say, and it was said in our resolution, that youth who experience homelessness most likely have behavioral, mental challenges as well. And based on that, they're denying our kids that space. They want your money, but not the kid. Like my son, who's autistic, will not be one of the kids they choose. And they're very blunt about it. Not even 4 years ago, they denied a kid access because of his hair. This happened in Toledo. And that young man came to TPS and soared and thrived beyond measures. But they don't tell you this discrimination, the racism, the homophobia that they actually put on these kids about who they want in here. So yeah, it sounds like funding, but it's more than that. This is what we're talking about when we say high quality education. We're talking about for all our students. We're not saying the ones who can play basketball. We're not talking about the ones who are great on debate. We're talking about every single student that hits our doors. And we cannot keep fighting the State House from robbing us of our resources. We need more paras, we need more teachers, we need mental health specialists. Our babies need a lot of things, and they're keep finding ways to tie racism, white supremacy, yes, I said it, and a lot of other things to these bills that are taking funding for public education. And I really, really want everybody to look at these bills and see how many times it says, if you do this, if you promote diversity, if you promote social and emotional learning, you will lose funding. Just look at how many bills are tied to our funding because we're doing the right things. And I'm so glad that we have a voice here in Toledo that is not going to go for it. Thank you.
Sure, I feel like a broken record. We are constantly against bills down at the State House. That is not how states and school districts should run. We should be working together to the benefit of our students in our public schools. There are 1.7 million students that need the funding and the resources made available to them. I actually believe in school choice. I think it's essential, but I also think that public schools offer the best choice. When it comes to this backpack bill, what they failed to talk about are the multiple students that have gone on and utilized a voucher and then have been sent away from the private school that they used the voucher at for various reasons. Some of them, Ms. Barnes alluded to. And then at that point, they come back to our public schools without the necessary records that they need to even advance to graduation. So then we have multiple issues going on. One, a child doesn't have their transcript. They have to make up the work because they owe dollars to the private school. Families cannot pay for it. I swear, it's like predatory lending. And, you know, and not to say that it's always like that, but how many times, Dr. Durant, have you had to seek out donations to cover tuition expenses for children that have been booted out of private schools? Think about that for a minute. The public education system is having to find donors to cover tuition costs at private schools that the student no longer even attends. We've had families have to file bankruptcy so their child can walk at graduation. House Bill 290 doesn't cover any of that. It's complete garbage. I want to know where they're going to find $1 billion to cover a handful of students. And you know what? Most of the students that are going to use the vouchers have never stepped foot in a public school to begin with. Okay, I have to stop because my blood pressure boils every time I think about what is going on at the State House. And I feel like more and more school board members need to start stepping up and running for the State House and take it over so we have our voices heard. So don't be surprised if one or all of us at some point run for the State House.
You can be the campaign manager. At the risk of sounding like a conspiracy theorist, I'm going to say that this is more than about a backpack bill. This is about a full-blown assault on public education. And believe me, the people who want this are the same ones who really don't want a system of public schools, period. They don't want public schools. They have no intention, and they set it up over a long period of time to chip away at it and chip away at it and chip away at it. They even planned the language to use to cause the public to lose trust in our public schools. So over the time, when they started attacking us on whether we're saying gay or not, they are attacking us on whether we're teaching the truth or not. They're attacking us on for so many things. That was all part of the plan so that the community would lose trust in the common public school system. And when we say common, that isn't because we're not the best or the best choice, as you mentioned. It's because it was intended in our state, in most states, that taxpayer money funds school systems, not people to go wherever. And so it is an attack, and it in the end game, it's not just how many kids can go to private school for free. It is about dismantling public education as you know it. And I would encourage you to explore some of the research that's out there that points to exactly that. Vouchers Hurt Ohio is one website that I think can be useful for that purpose. I think that sums up our discussion, and we're ready to take a vote on that, right? We had the motion, yes? So, okay, good. We're going to have a vote.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you. We have another resolution. This one is going to be read for us by Mrs. Varwig as the president-elect of OSBA. She's looking out for us when it comes to the Ohio School Board Association's platform agenda in the coming year. And it's important for school districts to pass resolutions that help OSBA formulate their platform discussion and where they will send resources and efforts on behalf of school districts. So we have a resolution that is going to ask them to take this up. Could you read that for us?
Be happy to, thank you. So it's a resolution recommending amendment to the Ohio School Boards Association legislative platform. Whereas the Board of Education of the Toledo City School District, the board is a member of the Ohio School Boards Association, OSBA, and whereas the OSBA advocates through a legislative platform that is reviewed and amended each year by OSBA member districts. And whereas the Toledo Public Schools and its community have been harmed in a disproportionate way by the state of Ohio's use of the state school report card system, and whereas school report cards are designed to give parents, communities, educators, and policymakers information about the performance of districts and schools. But the existing rating system gives an incomplete picture of the efforts, progress, and performance of local school districts. And whereas a well-designed accountability system can help shine light on inequities based on specific student characteristics, socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity, disability, etc., while also showing growth areas for each district. And whereas the board desires to refine the state's accountability system to be a fairer, more meaningful process, a process which eliminates the use of any punitive rating system. And whereas the board desires to reduce the over-reliance on achievement test data and the accountability system, which strongly correlates with socioeconomic status. And whereas the board desires an accountability system that does not punish districts for factors that disproportionately impact urban school districts, such as student attendance, as school districts like TPS work tirelessly to have all of its students in school. And the TPS community as a whole already suffers when students are not in school. And whereas the accountability system must be a meaningful indicator of the quality of a school district, a holistic representation of the efforts within the district to develop the whole child, that does not have a disproportionately negative impact on urban schools or all schools, and that provides a reflection of the growth, improvements, and opportunities in each school. And whereas the Board of Education supports OSBA's Urban Network Report Card recommendation to the existing state report card platform, and whereas OSBA, through its legislative work, can impact whether the state adopts an accountability program that is truly reflective of the quality, growth, opportunities, and efforts of Ohio schools. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Toledo City School District that Section 1, the board recommends that OSBA adds to its legislative platform its support of legislation that eliminates the use of a state report card for schools and the current 1 through 5 star scale, or the A through F letter grade rating system, and supports replacing it with an accountability system that is a meaningful indicator of the quality of a school district, a holistic representation of the efforts within the district to develop the whole child, that does not have a negative impact on public school districts, and that provides a reflection of the growth, improvements, opportunities in each school. Section 2, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from immediately after its adoption and shall supersede any prior resolution or act of this board, which may be inconsistent or duplicative with the provisions of this resolution. Section 3, it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this board concerning and relating to the passage of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of this board and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Sure, I'll keep it brief. The report card is shambles, it's flawed, it's punitive, it's all things bad. I think, listen, we're all here about accountability. We have no problem with that. Public school teachers, administrators, they're accountable every single day. Board members, we can't go to the grocery store without being accountable to the public. So no one's afraid of accountability. What we want is fair. What we want is less reliability on a single snapshot of a test taken in a particular week. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you can imagine any business or any entity, any organization where you take one single day out of your calendar year and that's how you're graded for the entire year, who does that? No one. But these state legislators, out of control.
Okay, I'm gonna try to be brief too. But just think about this. We have a Bloomberg lab, we have aviation, we have aerospace, we have all these things in our school district, but yet somehow we're failing. We have SMART teams, initiatives. We have all these young scholars getting free rides from Scott High School, but yet we're failing. But you have compared to another district in a suburban area, and they're doing better. No shade to anybody else. Please don't tell any other local schools. What I'm saying is you have to start looking outside the box, that this is nothing. But once again, what they're trying to do is promote racism, economic disadvantages, because only people affected by this right now, suburban areas are, but mostly rural areas and urban areas. And I even hate saying the word urban now because that started to sound like another word that they use to describe people that they don't have respect for. These report cards are not saying how literally, if you have a teacher that came, and she's going to kill me because I said this, but she's like, I could stay out in the car and graded papers. We have teachers who literally work hard on the weekends to make sure they show up for our students' events if they play sports or a chess team or whatever. We have amazing staff that goes above and beyond. I know my para is amazing for my son. My teachers for my kids are amazing. But guess what? That will not be shown on a report card because we live in a high populated of Black and brown people with with high poverty. So that we will always be failing compared to what they think education should be. I knew I was gonna be brief, so I'm sorry.
I just want to say that the report card does not measure what it purports to measure, and that's the most important thing. If we want to know how we were doing, we need to measure things that are meaningful and that are useful to know and understand. The one thing it does consistently measure is socioeconomic status of a community. So the one thing it does measure accurately and with validity is SES. So we don't need a report card to tell us that, and we don't need to spend the endless hours agonizing over the standardized tests that we do. I just want to link it back to the backpack bill resolution as well. Keep in mind that students attending schools with those schools don't have report cards, let's just say. They don't have the same accountability. They don't have to do a 5-year forecast. They don't have to do what we have to do to account for our funding and to make sure all our teachers are licensed. Those are the kinds of things that should be measured. It would be very simple to just attach the State Board of Education strategic plan to a report card because it's a good plan. Let's measure what's in the strategic plan. If those are the things that are important to us, let's measure it. So I really appreciate this opportunity to have OSBA take up the overhaul, as we're going to call it. We don't want a tweak of a report card. We want an overhaul of the accountability system. So if that's all the discussion, we could call the roll.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
I will make sure we are not failing. Look around. We are not failing. So I don't know what they're measuring.
And just one more thing, that whole failing thing, what is the first, how do you, it affects the entire community. Like real estate, anything, the first thing you see on a listing is the school district and you click on it and it's a failing school. Like who wants that? What community wants that? If you want to be proud and be part of something, why would you want to label it failing when we all know full well that it's not failing? So again,
It's called legal segregation.
That's right. It is. Absolutely. So let's call the roll on that and get busy.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are finally to section 10. I don't believe we have any walk-ins at all. Section 11, we do have some early childhood education action items. Chair Barnes.
Dr. Amy Eller?
We have 2 items we're asking for approval this month. One is revised selection criteria, which we revise periodically to make sure we're getting the right kids into our program. And the second one, 11.02, is an application for additional COLA and quality improvement money that was offered by the Federal Office of Head Start.
And they have to be separate votes, correct?
Yes, please.
Like to make a,
Go ahead and make a motion. Go ahead and make it.
like to make a motion for the selection criteria?
It's 11:01.
Oh, I'm off.
You're good.
Selection
That's
criteria.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Second.
So moved and seconded. We need a roll call.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Like to make a motion to move the COLA and quality improvement application?
Second.
So moved and seconded. We need a roll call.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick,
Yes.
and Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Okay, so that takes us to section 12 of the agenda, which consists of early childhood education reports and minutes from this month's committee meetings. For information, no action is required. We do not have any early childhood walk-ins. Is that correct? No. Okay, so I believe I'm going to circle back now and ask for a motion to go into executive session to consider confidential information related to the marketing plan, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, or to negotiate with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance. Or conference with an attorney for a public body considering disputes involving the public body that are subject to pending or imminent court action.
So
I need a
moved.
motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. There's no discussion. Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you. Need a motion to return from executive session?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. If no discussion, please call the roll.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Okay, so comments from the superintendent.
Yes, again, total appreciation for the board. I think with great conversation. Some of that was recorded, so I think some of it is great, particularly about the narrative of public trust and the EDI of vouchers. I think great conversation. The other thing I wanted to mention in regards, you would have been very proud of O'Shea Jones, Olympian, and Ricardo Hernandez, a senior over at Wade High School. They, at the Boys and Girls Club fundraiser, just knocked it out the park in their speaking. I mean, I was very impressed. Ricardo, who came here at the age of 10, knew no English, and now 4.3, top 3 in his class, and is a leader. And so he was the Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year for Northwest Ohio, as well as runner-up the state of Ohio. So kudos to him. And obviously, O'Shea has a fight on June 10th. Be there to support her. We're proud of her. Twitter Early College just had a graduation. We're working on an editorial, being that 24 students graduated with an associate degree, which is amazing. 70% of the graduates achieved 55 credits or more of college credit. Again, just speaks to the volume of those things. So tomorrow we have ANSAT and Virtual Academy, or I should say the Virtual Academy, and then we got the Rogers on Friday, TTA, and next week we roll into our traditional magnet or schools as well. So again, thank you for being part of that, supporting that, and TPS proud.
Thank you. Mr. Treasurer, comments?
No comments.
Board members?
I just want to pass on that it was exciting to be at the Escuela graduation this morning. See all the excited young people, but also our staff. Our staff are very proud, very passionate about what they do. So I really enjoyed it. Dr. Durant was there. It was a good time. Thank you.
Again, congratulations to all the graduates and staff. I hope they enjoyed their summer. And then a shout out to the Start Spartans softball team. They always make sure they let me know when they win, and they are winning again, City League champs. So congrats to them.
Glad to be a part of the graduation season as a board member. So I'll be at Jones Leadership Academy and Rogers with you, Dr. Durant. So and staff, excited.
I just want to say, enjoy your summer, be safe, take care of yourself. And I'm just so happy about how we are continuing to work on welcoming and making sure everyone belongs. With that, shout out to our FASL interpreters, and have a good week.
Thank you. I really just want to thank my colleagues for being out and about in the community. I get a little of that FOMO, fear of missing out, whenever I see all of your social media posts, and you're really doing a great job of supporting the teachers and the families and showing up in the schools. I haven't been able to do as much of that as I once was, but I always feel like we're well represented, and you're very generous in tagging me when you're out and about in the buildings, and I really appreciate that, and I appreciate being affiliated with all of you. Thank you.
Madam President, I just want to thank my colleagues for taking my picture with their selfies. They don't have to. So I don't post.
Right,
so they make sure I get on Facebook. They take care of me. This is my week.
Exactly.
Ms. Barnes especially.
We've got all these social media mavens and experts here, and thankfully it makes us all look good. I appreciate it. So if there's nothing else, I think we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. If there's no discussion, please call the roll.
Mrs. Barwick,
Yes?
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.